This is the last fireside chat we will have before the lunch. So without further ado, let me invite Jason Lemkin, who is a known name in software as a service business, and the moderator would be Angel Izak, who is an IP patent attorney with Kirkpatrick and Townsend. So please welcome Angel Izak and Jason Lemkin.
Okay, so as you all know, Jason Lemkin, to my left, is the CEO and co-founder of EchoSign, in addition to being his own an inventor, an entrepreneur, an adventure seeker, and a very all-around interesting guy who is married to someone who I know very well. Wonderful people. And Jason is going to talk to you about SaaS as a software and using it to scale a business. So Jason, let's just jump right in and say, what does it take to scale a SaaS business?
Sure, and let me and thank you everyone for having me here. Thanks for the intro. Just quick background for the handful of folks in the room that don't know me well. I did co-found and served as CEO of EchoSign, a pretty popular web service for signing contracts on the web in 2006. We were acquired by Adobe in July of 2011, and then I served as VP of Web Business Services at Adobe, and we grew that recurring revenue business to $64 million earlier this year and an estimated $100 million at the end of this year for EchoSign and the Web Business Services. So I made many mistakes. I have a blog called SaaSter. You can read all about my mistakes. It's very popular. But I have been through this whole cycle through as the topic of this is the exit as well, which we can chat about. And in terms of scaling, which I think was the first question, right?
Yes.
For folks that are thinking about SaaS, what I've learned is there's three things about SaaS that are obvious with hindsight, but a little bit counterintuitive if you've done other things, if you've done traditional sales to the enterprise or consumer. And I thought through them. There's time, which is the one I want to spend a few minutes on, people, and then money. And first, time is the most non-obvious thing about SaaS, because in my company before EchoSign, I sold to the enterprise big companies. It was very hard, but 6 months in, I signed a $6 million contract. It was great. In SaaS, 6 months in, maybe you'll get 100 customers, which sounds amazing instead of that one, but maybe they're $1,000 customers or $10,000 customers. And even if you're somehow able to talk someone into giving you $12,000 a year for your SaaS product in your first year, it's ratable revenue. So it's only $1,000 a month, all that work. And so the revenue for SaaS builds up more slowly than my plan predicted, and probably yours will. The flip side of that is once you get it, SaaS compounds. So you get your business up to 1 million. There's one thing I know in SaaS, because recurring revenue, next year you're going to have more than 1 million. In fact, I'm pretty sure you'll have 2 million the next year. You get up to 10 million, which is when it starts to get interesting in SaaS. You start to get scale. I don't know what you'll be doing after 10 million. Maybe it's 15 or 18 or 20, but it keeps growing. And so this SaaS thing, it's just really hard to get it going, really hard to get it up the hill. It's really hard to get to traction. Then once you get scale, it sort of becomes this unstoppable thing. So you have to, it's hard to be patient as a founder, but you have to budget the right amount of time. And when I look at new SaaS businesses emerging that my colleagues and friends are running, you could do better than this, but as a yardstick, you'd be lucky from day one, at the end of first year, to be doing 40, 50, 60, 70,000 in revenue. And if you can be doing 2 million by the end of your second year, that's great, but it just takes time. So the time one, but the fact that it compounds is not obvious. The other one about getting a SaaS business going that is a little non-obvious is you need more people in the beginning than you might think. So a lot of software type businesses, you can get going with a couple of great engineers, a product guy, and a business guy. Maybe you can get going with 5 guys. And you can sort of do that in SaaS. You can get your so-called minimal viable product out the door. But the problem in SaaS is a minimal viable product's useless. What you need is a minimum saleable product. You build a minimal viable product for your consumer email management thing, that's great. You can get 1 million people using it. It doesn't help you in SaaS. You need money, so you need a minimum sellable product. You're going to need someone eventually besides you that knows how to sell. You're going to need someone that knows how to support your customers. You're going to need someone that actually knows how to market a SaaS product. And you start adding those numbers up, and your little pizza box team no longer fits. And so you can do SaaS capital efficiently. We did it. We got to 8 figures in revenue on a net spend of $5 million. So it's relatively efficient. It's hyper efficient for a SaaS company. But you're going to need more time, more people, and because of that, probably a little bit more money than you might think.
Okay. All right. So you did mention scaling up operations in that environment. Would you go into some detail on what that takes and how you plan for that?
Scaling's a big topic, but I'll tell you the uber learning that I've had, and with my friends that have gone through the same SaaS journey. The biggest, I think, investment that you have to make in scaling a SaaS business that's not obvious unless you've done it before is you tend to overinvest in acquiring new customers and underinvest in your existing customers. Now, obviously, your first year, you don't have to worry about it. You're just getting new customers, right? And you tend to think, hey, I just got, some of our early great customers we got BT and GE and Qualcomm. You get these customers, hooray, you ring the bell, it's exciting. But you have to keep them. And it's not only that, it's that everything in SaaS, your existing customers beget more customers. So even once our business hit 1 million, and then 10 million, and then 30 million, the majority of our revenue still came from word of mouth or viral. So you actually could do no sales in the sense of acquiring brand new customers, and we could have still grown our business 50% a year. So new customers are exciting, logos are exciting, trophies are exciting. I like sales. I like to work with the sales team. Sales guys are fun to work with, for me at least. They're more fun to drink with and hang out with. But all of my peers I know put too much effort, especially at the top, at the CEO level, in the new stuff to the detriment of the existing customers who generate the vast majority of your revenues.
And even though there's much more to talk about on that topic, because we only have 15 minutes, we're going to go right to your exit strategy. So how do you develop an exit strategy once you've done this fantastic job of scaling up your SaaS business?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I was always brought up to believe you don't have an exit strategy. You just build a great company in a great market, get a lot of attention, and people will find you. But having listened to some of the other panels today, I realized some of my colleagues who are even more successful than me have done a very good job planning things. So I'm not sure that that's accurate, but I'll tell you by a couple of things I've thought observing these things. In the SaaS space, I can think of a couple examples where it's just a technology play and it's amazing and companies have been acquired for technology, but it's pretty rare because SaaS is about business processes that build a great customer experience. And so what that means is, first of all, it's going to be pretty hard to get to 1 million in revenue and then magically have some sort of $100 million exit in SaaS. So it's going to take time. So beyond the exit strategy, you have to, I don't know that there is a pure strategy because you're going to have to get yourself post-traction and probably to scale before anything interesting is going to happen with 95 out of 100 SaaS companies. Beyond that, I'll tell you, I was just chatting with someone out in the lobby and that had been through an acquisition themselves in the sort of the SaaS space, and he asked me how long did our deal take from handshake to close. Well, the truth is, from handshake to close, it took 45 days because that's all I allowed Adobe to do because I was tired. But the more interesting question was, how long did it really take? Well, it took actually 5 years from that first handshake. When I first met our champion at Adobe that did the acquisition until it closed, it takes time. So when I look at my friends and colleagues running SaaS companies that are post-traction and post-scale, and they're thinking about these things, you need to have built relationships with everyone in your space that could possibly acquire you, and they need, to use like Mark's sister's point, they need a lot of dots to connect. They need to get to know you early when you're hot, when you're on TechCrunch, because if you're a VP like I was or an SVP at a big company, you've got to track the hot companies. They want to see the progress. Then they need to see a threat to themselves or the strategic opportunity. And I know maybe I could just sit in my office running Tumblr and Yahoo will ring me up and offer to buy me for $1.1 billion, but in SaaS, it's relationships that lead to it, and you can't accelerate that. So if you really want to exit, do the right things, build a great product, have great customers, but make sure you maintain those VP and above level relationships, because that's where it's going to happen.
Yeah, it sounds like you got to start them early, like way early.
You've got to start them. I'm sure I don't know that David Sachs and Steve Ballmer at Yammer were best friends. I'm pretty sure that deal came out relatively quickly. But a deal at 80 times or 40 times run rate is an outlier. Most of the ones that I know, even relatively sizable deals, they're built on these relationships.
And I would imagine you never really can anticipate who might be able to help you with what, so it's good to maintain all those relationships and to not really take anyone for granted. I mean,
there's that, and let me just add one other thought. My real learning now, having been a target that's been acquired in a VP at a Fortune 500 company, looking at targets, here's the thing about M&A that people don't get. Adobe, Google, Salesforce, any large company, there's 100 companies they could buy instead of you that are just as good an idea. Okay, for everyone that gets bought, kudos to Buddy Media for getting bought for $800 million on $10 million run rate. There's a lot of other companies doing $10 million that could have done a great job for Salesforce as well, okay? So the idea that just because you're in this wonderful space that Google or Salesforce or whoever is going to buy, you have a lot of competition. There's you may not realize it, and so really one of your jobs, whether it's directly or through the press or other things, is to position yourself as the one that is good for that person at that company. What's good for Steve Ballmer, because Steve Ballmer lost out on Facebook. He doesn't want to lose out on the Facebook for Business, which is Yammer. Or positioning yourself with the SVP. What's his strategy in digital media, digital marketing, right? And you've got to position yourself in the right space because there's 100 people that any company could buy.
Yeah, it's good advice. We only have a few minutes left, but perhaps you could share with us your top do's and don'ts for entrepreneurs as they are growing a SaaS business. Maybe even a war story if you have one.
Sure, I've got hours of war stories. I won't fill those up. But number one, it's easy. It's easy for SaaS. Hire the right VP of sales, at least as your second VP of sales. I've done a non-scientific statistical survey of SaaS companies that I know of. 70%, the first VP of sales hasn't made it a year. Okay, and why is that? Well, I have a lot of thoughts. You can come talk to me or read SaaSter, my blog. The simple reason is people hire the wrong person and it's the wrong fit for their company. We'll run out of time for that. But goodness, I made this mistake. I hired a great resume, first VP of sales. It just was the wrong fit for our scale of our company, our deal size, the type of company we had. I mean, after I hired this VP of sales, our first one, our sales team quintupled in size, and our revenue decreased. I didn't know that math was possible. So it was pretty awful. And then I hired my second VP of sales, who was a great fit. He'd been the first VP of sales at LinkedIn. He understood what it meant to have leads. And I met with Brendan Cassidy, who's a rock star. And it was really, when I hired him, was the low point. I mean, we had all this, seemed like we'd lost all this momentum. None of our deals were closing. And I met with Brendan and I said, I'm sorry, Brendan. I mean, if you don't double sales in 90 days, we're just bankrupt. Right? I said, no pressure. I couldn't do it myself, but this is just what the spreadsheet said. You have 90 days because I wasted a year. And he looks at all the data. He says, you've got leads. You've got real leads. Your lead velocity? He said, no problem. Okay, so that magic guy, all of a sudden, we didn't launch one more feature, okay? We were in better position in the marketplace. Our revenue per lead doubled in 90 days by having the right guy. And so obviously we all want to hire the right guy, but really people hire the wrong VP of sales and then everything gets confusing. The sales don't happen. Is it his fault? Is it my fault? Is it my product? Is it what? Everyone starts finger pointing and you lose time. So if I had to pick the one don't, I would say just 4 times don't hire the wrong. Better just to wait or do it yourself. Same at a secondary level is true with marketing. Everyone in a SaaS company I want more leads, I want more things, I want to hire marketing. And what they end up doing is they hire a marketing person, often out of a big company that's done corporate marketing, that does, pens like this pen I have that says LinkedIn on it. And they're real good at it, okay? And they know how to do trade shows like we're at. Those people have no idea how to get new leads to your SaaS company that's never heard of. So you need to hire the right type of marketing person appropriate to your scale. And so if those are the 2 tactical pieces of advice, that would be it. And if I had time for, 1 or 2 more. You have time for one more. One more? Yeah. The Uber lesson early, and as the founder of Exodus said on the last panel, it's always hard to find good people. The one thing I can tell you in SaaS is, even if you find someone that's hyper smart, fine, people that really want to work in a SaaS company. The one thing I can tell you that never worked out for me running a company that sells a business is people from the gaming industry. Don't hire someone from Zynga that's all they've done, or Gree, or Funloft at your SaaS company. They're probably even smarter than the average SaaS engineer or SaaS salesperson, but it's just selling to customers is a different world than consumers. So find people that love SaaS, that have a passion about it, and just at least a year of experience, and you're going to avoid a lot of mistakes.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jason, and I'm sure Jason will be willing to chat with anybody afterwards, and again, thanks for joining us and sharing your wisdom.
All right, thank you very much.